All right, y'all. It's been a few weeks since Motor City Comic Con wrapped, and I finally had enough time to breathe, to decompress, and to finally let my feet stop hurting. And once the swelling went down, I realized something that kind of hit me in the chest. This year marked 10 years of me attending Motor City Comic Con. A whole decade. 10 trips to Novi, 10 years of overpriced concession pizza and very, very questionable hamburgers. 10 years of parking in the same parking spot and seeing the same volunteers who somehow never age. This one, y'all, this one meant something. And not like in that corny Hallmark Christmas movie kind of way, but instead it felt like a moment where Vegeta gets to deliver that monologue to Goku right before he flies off and just absolutely demolishes the next big bad. You see, for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't there as Robbie Diesel, the content creator. I wasn't sprinting across the floor trying to capture content like some kind of crazed Pokemon trainer. This time I told myself, brother, calm down. Go touch some comics. Check out some panels. Enjoy the damn show. And for once, I actually listened. I got to enjoy Motor City Comic Con simply as Rob. And instead of trying to film every square inch of the suburban showplace, I actually got to sit and watch and absorb and just be part of the whole nerd ecosystem again. And so this year in particular, I actually ended up hitting more panels than I think the last 3 years that I've attended combined. And I wasn't just like sitting off in the back like some kind of, creepy hall monitor or somebody that's, waiting to run up and interrupt the panel with some sort of weird protest. Nah, man, I was involved. I was asking questions. I was contributing to the conversation like an actual functioning nerd adult. Case in point, I went to Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel's panel. Yes, that Mike Flanagan and that Kate Siegel. The team behind The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, and all of like the dopest horror shows that Netflix has. Yeah, them. And while I was at the panel, I actually got to ask him something that has been on my mind for forever. Usually, when I go to these, I try to get interviews, but lately it's been a little tough. Most of the time the celebrity guests usually deal with large media, and I'm not there just yet. So the best and the easiest way for me to get my questions answered, check out a panel. And so I got in line and I got to ask Mike Flanagan my big question, which is, how do you balance dialogue heavy scenes with real legit scares? And he gave me one of the most insightful answers that I think I've ever heard at any con. He basically broke down how he layers tension through conversation, how he lets the audience's imagination do the heavy lifting, and then punctuating that with a sharp audio cue or visual reveal. And for those of you who know that I love being in the presence of a creative, and just hearing how he works through his process and how he is a maniac when it comes to his writing, but also how he approaches his projects with intent and care was definitely something that I needed to hear. Like, going to that panel alone made the trip worth it. I will tell you something that felt like it wasn't worth it, and that just so happened to be this year's cosplay contest. Now look, I always love seeing cosplayers shine. My wife loves a good elaborate cosplay, and so I enjoy the process. Cosplayers put in real time, real effort, and they get real emotional damage by way of hot glue guns. And they deserve every ounce of love that they get. But this year's format threw me off a little bit. Instead of real-time audience participation where the crowd gets loud and certain cosplays kind of get lifted based on everybody else's reaction to it, They switched to a system where each judge just picked their own favorite. Like the outcome was already determined before any audience involvement was factored in. Like every judge individually picked their number one favorite, like it was some kind of fantasy football draft or something. There wasn't really a ton of crowd energy. There wasn't a ton of hype. There wasn't even really any huge reactions. Just, hey, here's who participated. Here's who won. It felt less like an actual contest and more like people just kind of picking their favorite comics almost. And the whole time I'm sitting there wondering who asked for this patch update. Was the old version glitching? Did we do something wrong? I still love the cosplayers, but if I can provide any input to the team over at Motor City Comic Con, please change this format. Take it back to the old ways. Get the crowd involved. Let the judges have their say for sure, but there's no better judge than crowd interaction, in my opinion. Now, one of my favorite things about any Comic-Con is always meeting new creators. And this year was no different. I ran into a couple fellas, Jabola and Connor, who were the creative team behind a new graphic novel centered around Fela Kuti. Yes, that Fela Kuti. Nigerian legend, musical revolutionary, human vibe machine, Fela Kuti. And the art in this novel, insane. The concept, fresh. And the storytelling is black as hell in the best possible way. And this is exactly why I tell people all the time, don't skip the indie tables. Artist Alley, indie comic tables, that is where the future of the industry lives. That's where the weird, the bold, the experimental stuff, that's where you find all of that. And those are the things that actually pushes the culture forward. And being able to actually slow things down and have conversations with these creators instead of rushing to fill some sort of interview requirement or trying to hit my B-roll quota, it reminded me of why I started this journey 10 years ago. Back before I was upgrading my equipment, before paying off my credit card bill. Before all of that, it was just me and my family. Excited to be in a building